James wasn't just a wonderful, loving father and amazing cook, he was also a hero. Hello, Jeremy Senpai here, and it is Veterans Day, where I'll be showing the love from an unlikely source. Last time I talked about how Lottie is the greatest Disney best friend. But now, I'm here to talk about Tiana's greatest hero, her own father. As many of you already know the story by this point, Tiana wanted to open her own restaurant as she believed it to be her father's dream, even working herself to exhaustion to go the extra mile. But what do you say we talk about the man himself? When we first meet James, we see him working long, unforgiving hours to provide for his family, but no matter how bone tired he would always perk up immediately once he saw Tiana's smiling face, and the two would put on a big pot of gumbo to share with the entire neighborhood. But sadly, the next we see of James, we only see a picture of him wearing his military uniform, with a medal hanging on the side. Tiana gives a little kiss to the picture, and sadly, this confirms that James had died in service. Now, Princess and the Frog takes place in the 1920s. So, that means that James served in World War One. World War One lasted from 1914 to 1918, and there was a nationwide draft that took place in 1917, where at the latest James would have joined. Keep in mind here, this is just an estimation. James also could have enlisted earlier to the draft, but we know that at the time of the movie, Tiana is 19 years old. So, we can do the math, and this gives us a time window where Tiana would have been at least 10 years old when World War One began. So, it's a safe assumption that James enlisted when Tiana was barely in her double digits, very much playing into whenever soldiers have to leave behind their children at tender young ages. But one of the biggest pieces of evidence here is the medal. The medal is the Distinguished Service Cross. At the time, this was the second highest award for valor, showing how above and beyond James's bravery was in the face of his service. In fact, many of these medals were given posthumously. Like with Tiana and Eudora, the families were given the medals after the confirmed death of their fathers, brothers, husbands, and so on. Now the animators knew well what they were doing here, because at the time, African American soldiers did not often receive such a high praise. And I've done my research, and yes, there were times where black soldiers were given medals and commendations for their service. And this was also highly rare that they were given credit for their service. Now, given the time period where James served and the medal, I can safely assume that James was a member of the 369th Infantry Regiment, also known as the Harlem Hellfighters, an all-black World War One regiment who, despite facing discrimination, were known for an exceptional combat record, serving over 191 days of combat under the French command on the front lines, longer than any other American unit at the time. The regiment was awarded with the French Cross de Guerre, I really hope I pronounced that right, with a silver star and streamer, and over 170 individual Croix de Guerre medals were awarded to its soldiers. Now back to James. I think it is so insanely amazing that the filmmakers went on to create so much history with such a little detail, showing how intentionally that there was to all of this, that there was a lot of love that went into James's character past the stereotype of the Disney parent dying to help motivate the main characters. But we were given more glimpses of James's time in the service thanks to the Disney Magic Kingdom ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure. They went above and beyond to show James, including pictures of his service and the letters he sent home. So, let's have a look at those now. Here we see a picture of Tiana with James wearing his uniform, presumably before he ships off, with the date being 1917, the same year as the draft. Next up is a picture of James serving gumbo to the rest of his regiment, and it even says in the picture that they are the 369th, also known as the Harlem Hellfighters. Next up, we have a French newspaper clipping displaying James's full name, including his military rank, Sergeant James Rogers. So Tiana's family name is Rogers? Anyway, now we move on to the text of the newspaper itself. And I went through all the trouble to have it translated. The headlines read: An American soldier from the 369th Infantry Regiment posthumously decorated for his heroism. And the text reads: An American soldier from New Orleans, Louisiana, was awarded the Croix de Guerre for his courage. Sergeant James Rogers lost his life during a battle to repel a German offensive, during which he came to the aid of other soldiers. He was part of the 369th Infantry Regiment. Sergeant Rogers was particularly appreciated for his cooking skills. He managed to concoct delicious dishes despite food rationing, thanks to seasons of his own collected from other soldiers or gathered from the local flora. He had told all his friends in the regiment about his wish to open a restaurant in New Orleans. He was married and the father of his little girl. I love that they did this. They didn't have to include this history for James, and yet they did so. This confirms many of the speculations I've laid out here, that James laid out his life to protect his fellow soldiers posthumously, earning himself not only the Distinguished Service Cross, but a Croix de Guerre. And now for the most emotional part of this, the letters that James wrote home to Tiana and Eudora. Now I really hope I got this right, because my cursive reading is a little rusty. The first letter reads: Dear Tiana, how are you doing, sweetheart? You taking good care of Mama over there? I'm missing you too something fierce. What I wouldn't give to be back home, cooking up some gumbo, our gumbo, with you by my side. Then you and I could serve up a good old-fashioned potluck. Lord, what I wouldn't give! Anyway, I just had to let you know I was thinking about you. Love you always, Daddy. Now, this letter was most likely written and sent within the first year of James's service. And now for the next one. Dear Tiana, I'll be real with you, baby girl. It ain't easy out here. And we both know it ain't never been easy. Yes, I've been lucky to make lifelong friends that are like brothers to me, and we joke and laugh and make happy memories. But moments like these are as few and far between as a firefly's tooth. All of this will be worth it, though. I've got to believe that. I've got to believe that one day soon I'll be home with you and your mama, cooking up the best pot of gumbo in New Orleans, right there in our very own restaurant. Thanks to you on those rare occasions when the smoke and clouds clear, I look up at the evening star you were always telling me about. Thanks to you, I look up at that vast night sky and I believe. I love you, baby cakes, more than you'll ever know. Daddy. Sadly, this would be the last letter that James would send, as given the context of the letter, the 369th either already are or are about to be sent out to the front lines. Given the time window, it was most likely the Second Battle of the Marne, July 15th to 18th of 1918, or the Battles of Meuse Argonne, really hope I pronounced that right, from September 26th to November 11th, ironically 1918. Since they were the most famous battles the 369th fought in, and Germany was the opposition. Of course, this is just deductions, but either way, this would be the battle where James heroically sacrificed himself to save his brother soldiers he grew to see as a second family. In conclusion, Sergeant James Rogers wasn't only a loving husband, inspirational father, and innovative cook, but also a brave hero. So, this is such a wonderful way to give respect to military families, especially to the 369th specifically, and I love that the crew went through the trouble to do this, and I'm proud that I could tell James Rogers' story. But these are just my thoughts, were yours. Please feel free to share in the comments down below. Happy Veterans Day to all the brave and the bold who served. Hit like and subscribe if you like what you heard and you want to hear more. And please, never forget their sacrifices, because we only have all of this because of it. Happy Veterans Day, one and all. Have yourself a good day.